Hello there and welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka on this very interesting discussion about the Sri Lankan Design Festival going to happen soon. And Mevan, we have the details about the show itself, the program itself.
Yes, now for more information you can visit their website, that is info@srilankadesignfestival.com, and also you can purchase tickets now online as well. And the main one of the main events happening on the 17th of November, that's this Saturday. So once again, for more info, www.info@srilankadesignfestival.com.
15th to the 18th of this month at the Mount Lavinia Hotel, and you can also call Cindy on 573-7303 for your tickets and for information. There are other events as well done by the same body, so you can get in touch, get the information you need. So getting back to you, Mike, there's a interesting that thing you have said once. You said that if we compete as a chain, we can profit as a chain. What does this mean with regard to the apparel industry? What are the different components of this chain, and why is it so important that we integrate?
Well, I'll tell you that in the beginning, when we created this kind of meeting where all the elements were in the room, we would have a room full of world-class suppliers, but we would not have a world-class supply chain in the room. And so what we have watched is an evolution of basically just human trust. This is a people business. And we talk about speed to market, but until you gain trust up and down the chain, you have no chance at speed whatsoever. So the various components in the apparel industry are fiber, like spandex, yarn, like Supima cotton, fabrics that are wovens or knits, zippers, thread, labels, pocketing, elastic, embellishment, software, trade attorneys, shipping companies, cut and sew factories, of course, and the brands and the retailers, and getting all of those people in the room. I'm so proud of my ability to do that, but I'm even more proud of what Nikhil has assembled for this forum. This is a who's who and an all-star cast, and it's never how big a meeting you have, it's how effective was it when you held it, what kind of chemistry, what kind of issues did you tackle, what was actionable to come out of it. And that's all I've been thinking about leading up to the forum on Saturday.
And also something that we've been talking about earlier on, and Nikhil, you mentioned that there's also focus on sustainability of fashion. Now if you just like to take a reel back into history of design and fashion and how it has developed, if you talk a bit about how this is changing and history is probably repeating itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think the markets for Sri Lanka have traditionally been the US and Europe, and I know that, I was fortunate enough to grow up in the UK, and we would go shopping, very infrequently and buy more durable clothing. But you've seen a shift into sort of something called fast fashion, where people are going shopping more often. It's very similar to what happens in the States, actually. You're seeing that more in Europe now as well. But there is a tendency now for that to shift, and that's obviously going to help on the sustainable side, because if you buy more often, obviously you're being less sustainable. So I think that there is pressure now. I mean, as I say, I sort of was fortunate enough to go to this summit in Copenhagen. It's harder said than done, but harder done than said, I should say. But there is a shift, trying to be a shift for consumers to buy less frequently. So we'll see what happens.
So on the topic of sustainability, Nikhil, there is this important issue in the apparel industry about going green, being carbon neutral factories, etc. Sri Lanka also has a few of those actually, and we are pioneering the way in this issue. How important is this to the apparel industry? And after that to Mike, why is it important to the apparel industry that we produce garments which are through this proper process, if I may say so?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think all of us have to be concerned about our carbon footprint, and we've seen natural disasters, we've seen changes in sort of weather and all sorts of things in recent years. We're all being affected by this sort of topic now, and we have to play our part. And I think we're sort of realistically, I think the factories are doing their part, and my concern in recent years has really been that we haven't really educated the consumer as much as we should, and I think that it all starts from there. because we have to do that in order to make a difference to the world, and I think it's our social responsibility to do that.
Leading on to that, Mike, just on that same line, the ethics of the industry, there is such a thing as ethics. There was a concept called the garments without guilt. What does this mean, Mike? What are the ethics involved in this industry?
Well, I don't know if it's cultural or personal, but the leaders of the industry in Sri Lanka have always done the right thing, it seems to me. When you study the history of the industry here and the history of the companies, the ethics of the leadership in this country in particular has been rock solid. The hard part of all of these discussions on sustainability is the social thing, the living wage, minimum wage, fair wage aspect of social responsibility. The bottom line is nothing stops a bullet like a job. And the creation of stable jobs by the industry in this country and actually throughout South Asia has been really unbelievable. The issue is, does the retail customer assign value to the investment that you have made in your people? And I could go on for far too long about that, but the bottom line is, the more you invest in your people, the more flexible you are, the less absenteeism you experience, the far less turnover you have to respond to with expensive training. You're just a better company. And if that's not of value to the customer, then run as fast as you can from them and find somebody else.
Right. True enough. Now, value additions have taken different forms, and one of the main things that people are concerned about today is how ethical the entire process of the company is, and how they conform to the norms of the industry as well. Now, coming back to the professional network that you're heading, Mike, and if you'd just like to mention how that kind of a network will work well in Sri Lanka.
Well, that's a great question. The issue with our network has been that from the outside looking in, it's hard to understand, and from the inside looking out, it's hard to explain. But the effect of the network is that we meet continuously. We have several hundred companies, including Nikhil's, and over 600 people that are networked together every day. And the way that this manifests itself is by email broadcasts. Someone will find an article. Someone will find a saying. Someone will find a number. And we'll share it amongst one another. And over the years of doing this, we've developed so much trust that if someone says, help, I need to find a factory in Central America that can make men's underwear, we know that the guys that sell elastic trust us enough to dive into their laptops and find factories that are best suited. The interesting thing about the supply chain is it just knows what's happening. It knows. It's got you covered. So I wanted to create a network that had a blue jeans red phone and a t-shirt red phone and a dress shirt red phone, that if I picked up this phone and activated it, we could get results, and we've got that. It's over the internet, not a phone, but we've got that.
So the Sri Lanka can have a similar concept, and how useful it will be. Nikhil, just before I think we end on the show, something about who will be interested in this forum, who should come? Is it just the retailers? Is it the manufacturers? Is it what about a sole proprietor? Can you gain something from this? Who should be there? Who should
well, I think, as I say, everyone involved in sort of design and apparel industries, and that doesn't just mean manufacturers. It means banks. It means suppliers. It means, obviously, one of the focuses, as we've said this series, is on sustainability. And one of the points I just want to make as well, we have a separate sustainable symposium on Friday morning, which is just on sustainability. So that's obviously an important event for anyone who's involved in sustainability. For the leadership forum itself, we've got suppliers, we've got banks, we've got decision makers, policy makers, and obviously all the suppliers and the garment manufacturers and everyone related to the apparel industry, which is a wide audience.
True enough. And just before we wrap up on the show, Harit, this is something that both of you can comment, because you all have two different perspectives on it. Taking a look at Sri Lanka, what can we do to improve in the future? What do we need to do differently, to be probably getting ahead in this industry? Nikhil, if you'd just like to start off.
We obviously need to form relationships. The infrastructure, I know that there's a lot of investment going on in infrastructure now. I think one of the things that we haven't had in Sri Lanka is really been fabric. I think it would be helpful if there was some more backward integration in Sri Lanka to help. But as I said, we're very sort of geographically placed for the future, with India and China taking off. I think we're in a very strong position.
This is a generalization, but in general, retailers and brands don't care about countries anymore, they care about companies. And what's wrong with that is that Sri Lanka, having developed itself strategically and deliberately as the hub of South Asia, is so much more than a country. It's truly the region. So I would argue that what Sri Lanka's got is a slight little tiny marketing problem that I hope that we address at the forum and afterwards, because this truly is a place that people have to come see to believe. And I know, because I've asked the U.S. retailers, our last 5 members in our network have been retailers. And to a retailer, they don't know a thing about Sri Lanka.
It's great. It's great to hear that from someone from America as well. So
that's great.
Different perspective.
And with that, Harit, unfortunately, we have to wrap up our discussion. But very interesting thoughts coming from 2 people that are very, involved in the design and apparel industry. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Good morning, Sri Lanka.
And we can remind our viewers quickly about how to get your tickets for this event. 5737303. You can call Cindy for your tickets and your information, as well as info@,
Sri Lanka
SriLankaDesignFestival.com. So if you want to get there, I think you should be there. So much to learn, so much to know about this wonderful industry, which is so much beneficial to Sri Lanka and our future.
Yes, and with that, we will say goodbye to you. But we'll be back tomorrow, same time. Keep watching Good Morning Sri Lanka. Have a great day.